Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and X. And a massive shout out to Jardo, who super chatted before we've even begin the actual live show. He says, "Praise Jesus." Thank you very much, Jardo, for the super chat. Now we are joined by Refracted Curvature, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome, one and all.
Good
Neil
morning,
staying
everyone.
on mute.
Hello, hello.
Neil
Hey,
letting
good
us know
afternoon.
that he's staying on mute by being off mute, letting us know he's off mute. And he's going to be on mute.
I think I have a housekeeping question, a new one.
A new one? Well, we'll see about that. Go ahead, John.
Can anyone prove the stars have geometry?
I like that one.
I don't like it. Do you want to know why I don't like it? Why would there be a burden?
Because there's a positive claim out there that they do.
They
Yep.
set the star. Do
It's
they?
not ours.
They set the stars, and they have an internal contradiction. Actually, it would seem that they've got an assertion because they've got fixed distances based on Kepler and Huygens, right? Without going through why, we understand that, but that is not how they use the stars, is it? They use them at an infinite distance, offer claim to be parallel light using spherical protractor that's got you in the center of it in reality. Not in reality, because you can't be in the center of a sphere. You're on the equatorial plane, just measuring angles. But what I'm saying is, they don't have a geometric assertion at an infinite distance because there's no fixed distance to the stars in a globe paradigm with a contradiction that has them both at a fixed distance and at an infinite distance. Do you follow my meaning?
Well, if Baller would like to explain all that after we ask the question, they'd look like fools, wouldn't they?
They would, but it brings me back to my original question. Why the need for a burden? Why is there a burden when I can just state as fact that celestial navigation requires Earth to be navigated, measured, dealt with, flat? Well, there's no burden. There's just a statement of fact, is there not?
Well, yeah, but the housekeeping questions are about positive claims that have a burden that haven't been answered.
Yeah.
Are they not?
Yeah, they are. But that doesn't mean that there's going to be one for this. The reasons I've just given. What's the positive claim that they're making? Other than, if you bear with me, you weren't here at the time, but back in the day, Rumpus used to say sextants only work on a globe. A few commenters have said it, or said that there's no triangles involved. Things of that nature, stupid stuff. Well, outside of the anti-flat Earth bullshit, where is there a sky vacuum or an Earth curve or an axial rotation or a distance to a celestial item? Where is the positive claim within celestial navigation on a globe? The answer is there's no positive assertion. I identified this in December of last year when I said we're going to move forward into 2024 on the front foot with our positive claim. So there's no I don't see that there's a comparison to put it as a housekeeping question for me to invite an answer unless I invite the false dichotomy. You see what I mean? I'm frowning because I know that you're going to agree.
But they do assert that the sky is curving. They do assert that the stars are really super far away, and they make other assertions that are built upon that without evidence.
No, they don't.
They have no evidence.
Well, they know they're built on flat Earth measurements of the angles, are they not?
Yeah, but from the flat Earth angle measurements, why would you assert that the sky is curving or the stars are almost infinitely distant?
Well, why would you? Isn't something I want to ask anymore. I mean, you're right. The question should be asked, and I'm glad you have, because it means I can answer it. Well, you wouldn't. Earth's measured flat. And that's where I'm going to be taking it to every single time. And not moving forward to understand why you'd then take that flat Earth measurement of an angle to Polaris and suggest that you're standing on the outside or inside, if you're a concaver, edge of a protractor. You're not. You've just measured an angle. Or if you're winding up the angle to Polaris on your equatorial mount, you're winding the mount that's been leveled to the angle of the Polaris star that you've measured off the equatorial plane, because that's how the tool works. So when you put the angle based on a number on the tool, you're just measuring angle. It's a requirement, a prerequisite that Earth is flat to do so. At that point, I just stop, or will, on the front foot, without answering any questions that require that to be the starting point, because it does, always.
Right. So all the housekeeping questions under that reasoning would now be voided.
That's what I was thinking.
That's correct. I've been thinking the same thing for a few weeks. There's no way to recondition those questions, put them through the rinse and cycle them into how they can be paraphrased into showing that Earth is starting with a prerequisite measurement. They almost invite the false dichotomy I decried in the pre-show, don't they?
Yes, when you ask why of someone who's making a false claim to give you an explanation for how it's true, it becomes non sequitur at best, and it introduces, all you can do is introduce a fallacy at that point.
I mean, the purpose of them was originally to keep the ballers reminded of how they failed. So that it's not rinsed and repeated daily, with globers coming in as they do, seldom do now, to say, well, because we've got a force of gravity, or, well, because Earth's just a sphere, we already know, or because we've got a photo from space and that, or, well, because I know that the star movement proves we're turning, or whatever it is that they start with. All of them have been overcome in the last 10 years, and we're highlighting that fact to stop the constant perpetual cycle of the rinse and repeat motion. They're still worthy, in other words, after consideration, as you can tell, I've done. Because they stop that constant, incessant reintroduction of false dichotomy arguments while having it pointed out on a daily basis that they've already been overcome. They're more like gravestones. I just can't think of a way to phrase this. Do you know what I mean? They're not housekeeping. They're dusting graves. I don't have to phrase that better.
That's a better one to say, because like John said, the housekeeping questions cleaned house.
Well, yeah, but they did. But they kept the house immaculate for no one to come and sleep in the beds anymore, right? So the phraseology of housekeeping is to suggest that the flat Earth debate is a little hotel. You check in, and housekeeping's already taken place when you step off your bed, put your slippers on, and start interacting with the other guests, right? That is kind of the metaphor that I had in my mind. Well, if no one's sleeping in the beds, go on. Someone from Discord really wants to get a word in because they're off mute. Go ahead, whoever that is. Jardo, maybe? Someone's either hot micing or they want to get a word in. Go on, Jardo.
No, sorry. My phone's stuck, so I can't mute. But anyway, I just wanted to say that it's about time now that you dropped the housekeeping questions, kept them, but make them statements of claim.
Yeah, that is something I've also
In the Ten
considered, although that's very
Commandments of the
difficult.
Flat Earth.
The only way when I considered it in the shower a few weeks ago now, the way my mindset was to right that wrong, square that circle, was to ask the question and then incorporate the answer, which is to say, if it's axial rotation, point out that axis requires a flat plane of reference, things like that. But then they lose their. Then you just with the metaphor of housekeeping in mind, you're keeping house and then sticking voodoo dolls all over the room. You know what I mean? So it kind of defeats the purpose. I know what you're saying, that they could do with paraphrasing, but how it becomes really complicated to show that a false dichotomy argument's already been overcome by way of this question, but also the question shouldn't exist because you've got a flat Earth prerequisite. to incorporate all that into a snappy little question, you know, a couple of which will be asked throughout the week, I think is not possible. But what I do think is possible is there's a hotel that's paid for. There's no rent due. There's no tax to pay. And literally, all you need to do every now and again is go over with a feather duster and just knock the dust off what has already been built and established. Now, while I don't feel it's necessary to do all housekeeping questions every day, I do think, if nothing else for the sake of tradition, this show's been going on a long time, ask the questions periodically at the start of the show, as in one or two, or just one in the case of today, just because it gets the conversation started. There's a certain air of tension when you go, welcome to Flat Earth Debate live. There's going to be a certain, for most people I know, will shift slightly uncomfortably in their seat. Oh, it really matters now when I interject, or I'm off mute because I can't figure my phone without dropping or rejoining whatever Jardo has got as an issue. You know, that's more prevalent in your mind because we're live. And obviously I want the complete antithesis. I want everyone to be as natural as can be, as free and comfortable as they could be to air their views on the nature of the world. But to get people in the mood, a reminder to my own side, I'm biased, I'm a flat earther, I know it's measured flat, that we've overcome the false dichotomies. It's a reminder to us, if nothing else. It's like a tradition to just ask the question, because then over time, as they become less and less prevalent in the show, which they already have to an extent, you'll get people creeping into the beds. Oh, this bed looks comfy. And then the next thing you know, it's like, no, that was only dusted off 2 days ago. You didn't happen to see the housemaid dusting off the axial rotation requirement for a flat earth. Were you unaware? Immediately, you've then got somebody in the bed claiming Earth's sphere, turning around on an axis, and you can start attacking it based on the fact that this is still a Flat Earth Debate show, and the majority, this is the main point, of the Western world don't appreciate that which we have achieved in the last 10 years. We're cut off from the majority of society in a YouTube sense. So the shares that I implore people to use, you know, smash that share button, I say it every show, and e-beg for shares, so that the information that we can keep dusted over a little bit at the beginning of each show, and it gets us in the mood, I think it does a good job of that. There you go, that's the angle to get you back in the conversation, Jardo. Do you not feel that the nostalgia keeps you in the mood once the live show starts?
Yeah, no, I have no problem with the anticipation of the questions, knowing exactly that you're going to get stone silence. But I think now, juxtaposing your 2024 position, that is that you're moving forward with front foot and proof, rather than asking questions, make it a statement. So therefore, you know, is there any evidence? Well, after 10 years, we have found no evidence of this, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're saying have a question at the beginning, or a question incorporated into that cycle of dusting that says, is there any evidence that Earth is measured anything other than flat? Something along those lines as one of the questions. Would you agree that that would be a good inclusion?
Yes.
Rather than a removal entirely. Because for a couple of shows we did, but you start off and it can be a bit dry at the start of the show if you don't have a compare-like question asked to open up the discussion. And I like that we've got a structured set of questions that have very real and very intentional phraseology behind them because of a history that's led to them, that's now in place to keep that sort of vibe. This is what's going to get the opening up of the show going. And if it does result in a stony silence, we typically reflect on that fact. Yeah? And then move on to, if it's one of the questions, the fact that we are measuring Earth flat in all instances. So I'll incorporate it. If we can, maybe over the next week, polish up a question that I can incorporate as one of the two, or maybe just one question that we ask at the beginning of each show, and have it be in regards to the fact Earth's measured flat, because it is. While we're getting the resistance is while we need to polish up this question, because it's while we'll get your lumpy gases in a vacuum or the John refracted curvature when, comparing and contrasting him and his resistance to 10th man with the elevation angle argument, which is well established now. We'll get the same thing while we're polishing this up as a housekeeping question. That'll invite the flat earthers in to go, I don't like this. In certain instances, flat as a description can't be measured. You go, yeah, that's true. We've heard it, I think it's 14 times, but I'll hear it a 15th while we're polishing up the question. Hey, Eli. Hey, Eli. Eli? Eli? Eli! No, obviously not. He's not taking any of it. So, yeah, I mean, the housekeeping questions are fine as they are, as they've been inserted one or two throughout the week. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we get right back into the discussion after the pre-show's discussion. Eli?
If the purpose is to keep the conversation fresh or to get people to talk, then you've made an argument for proof of the star's geometry.
Sorry that's a good point. I just want to shout out Jardo. Thank you for the gifting of memberships to people who are in the chat. So I'm sure Jono, Arwin, Heated. Is it Heated? H-E-H-T-E-D? Okay. Matrix and Gary are very grateful. These free memberships. There's loads of videos that will be coming out. I've got 3 on the go now that I'm editing, and I've put out a couple over the weekend. So there's several members-only videos for you to enjoy. Thank you, Jardo, for gifting those memberships. Can you reiterate your point, John? Number 1, because I've forgotten, and number 2, because I recognised it was good as soon as I heard it.
Yeah, if you just made an argument for why, asking about if the stars have geometry. So that would invoke conversation, especially with the topic as we're discussing it now, would it not?
It would, but last time I had that discussion with someone else, my argument was, who cares? They're dealt with as they are dealt with. They behave as they behave. There's no ambiguity. There's no question or debate. I'm not making this as a positive claim. That's how it's done. Therefore, to ask the question about, bearing in mind this is how it's done, is it geometry or not? It's like, it's celestial navigation. I don't know. Let me think about it. I'm not suggesting that I should be the arbiter of whether or not this happens. But I just need to digest it, John.
Is he asking for evidence of soil in the sky?
No, I don't think so. But I like that you brought that up.
That's what it reminds me of.
Do you want to explain what you mean by soil in the sky? Although it was me that phrased that.
What about very geometric objects? That's what they claim to be.
Yeah, land in the sky. The lights in the sky are claimed to be land in the sky. Therefore, they're claiming that there's soil in the sky. There's not soil on the ground where we typically find soil and have found new lands. Nah, new soil, that's out in the sky. Is it? Yeah. You need materials, you need stuff to build stuff. Get it from the sky. That's what they're telling you. It's utterly absurd. Sometimes they tell you can get stuff from comets and that, don't they? We could mine this comet. We could mine this light in the sky. How absurd. We're not getting any materials from the sky. Beyond the cycles of gases and liquids. Hey,
But that
Adam!
Hello.
Hello!
Happy Easter,
It's good
everyone.
to have you. Happy days.
Happy days. Been dotting my own work.
But the question about their geometry would invoke conversations like that, where people do assert there's soil in the sky. You know,
I don't know why people want this. I don't think they do want it. I think they just don't want it to be wrong. You know, people don't want to have been deceived. People don't want to look at the wider reaching implications. I've seen that in multiple comments recently. I don't know why people have started to contemplate this from a globe perspective. If you find out that there's a deception, and that deception is substantial in terms of the nature of reality, the globe lies fairly big, then they can lie to you about anything. And there's been several commenters pointing that out to other globe believers, that they must face their fear in a society that's based on lies, and your ability to be duped, being exploited left and right. It's kind of cringeworthy when you have to contemplate that. I laugh about it now. You're like, yeah, we're such simple creatures and we've been studied so well that we can be manipulated really easily. But if you, from the inside out, looking out from that manipulation, that is, try and recognise your shackles. These ain't shackles! How dare you call them shackles? That's what we get. "65 people watching.
Just
Please share the
lastly on
show. Some great information. I'll be covering a video, hopefully. Got a couple of videos that have been picked out. Is that John trying to get a word in?
Just to, no, it's me. Sorry. Just to finish up on the housekeeping questions. I'm forever trying to get people to your YouTube channel, and a lot of the conversations that take place, you have to have context of what's being spoken of about. So the housekeeping questions are great for newbies and new people to the subject, because they don't have to have context to what's being spoken of. The context is given there and then.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
agree.
like it's a
They're
part of the show
self-contained.
that people can listen to. Yeah.
Yeah, there is that advantage as well. In other words, if you are coming in from the outside perspective, keeping that connection between the arguments that people are familiar with, regardless of if they've been stacked up with a false narrative and false dichotomy about what flat earthers say when I say false narrative, like stereotypes and such. When people are presented with that, that's how they're going to arrive. I can't change the paths in place to reach us. They're paths of nonsense. We used to describe the feast of nonsense and the path you're walking and the hill you roll down to get to this position where you either accept that you've been deceived and face the awful truth that there's probably a lot more lies out there, if they can lie to you about something so substantive. Well, those kind of contemplations and decisions and roads that lead to where we are now, I can't forge better roads. Especially when most of even those roads are cut off now, aren't they? They all lead to Simon now. So even those roads don't necessarily lead to us anymore. So it's a struggle
How
for
did
those
we
who
get into this?
trying to share the show. Go ahead, Neil.
How did we get into this anyway? Because John thought he might have another housekeeping question. So basically, we don't need any more housekeeping questions, and just keep the ones we have for the newbies. I don't see what the problem is.
Got to reassess these things, otherwise they become old and stale, and you don't actually know why you're doing them. Like, are we just doing this because it's tradition, because we've done it before? No, there is a grandiose purpose behind the housekeeping questions. They are very well thought out. People who hear them and haven't ever heard it discussed, or haven't realised why they've come to be housekeeping questions because they've only been here a year. Like, I just hear these questions a lot, and they've already been answered. And you go, yeah, well, the reason we keep them in is because it has a certain purpose that needs fulfilling for the people who arrive on that path. Now, they don't necessarily arrive on the path that's been forged. Maybe that's not a bad thing. When I'm asking people to share, those shares are very important because they forge new paths. You know, you might be putting this video in front of somebody that hasn't got an awareness of what the tarnished idea of a flat earther is. Many people haven't even been exposed to the idea or words flat earth before. I was one of them at some stage. So if you go, well, if I was someone at that stage and I just suddenly found a share on Facebook because somebody in my live audience right now heeded my call to action and went, oh, yeah, okay, fine, I will stick it on Facebook. I don't want to seem like an idiot. It's flat earth because it's in the title, but fine, as you're begging me. And they do it, and someone else like me back in the day just sees it and comes here immediately and hears any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. They suddenly have something resonate in their mind. They go, oh, I remember something about this 6-foot man at a beach or whatever. You know what I mean? Suddenly those things start to resonate, but they've already been pre-packaged in such a way that they've got an answer, and it started making their mind think about the way it's been phrased. Physical geometric sphere edge. You know, there's a certain phraseology to it that's very intentional. So I have no intention of dropping the housekeeping questions, but I love the fact they're being discussed, especially when it's from somebody in the negative. Should we keep these? It's like, good. If you don't ask those questions, those tools become blunt. They become rusty. You need to keep them polished. You need to keep them sharpened. You need to keep the people who are on the panels well aware of why they're being asked and the importance of them. I don't think we need all every day, though. I think that gets a bit dry. Go ahead.
Right. But you said it makes people think. Well, if you ask, do the stars have geometry? People's minds go to Eratosthenes, Kepler, the fundamentals of the religion.
Yeah.
And that's where we need them to be to understand how it's wrong.
No,
is
I
that
don't.
they built-
It makes me cringe. I don't think so, because they've got contradiction. They've got the distance is an infinite value when they actually do anything that we are going to lean on. So we're inviting. I've already said all this. We're inviting the false dichotomy, John.
Right. So are the housekeeping questions, though.
Yeah, but we're moving forward past them. I don't. That hasn't been born out of a glober coming to me arguing with me, has it? Us. Let's just say that differently. That hasn't been born out of a flat Earth debate with a ball-believing numpty, has it? 69 watching. Nice. Please share the show.
You've never had a ball-believing numpty argue for orbits or...
I'm talking about Earth being measured flat in the first instance. With the stars, that's all we're doing. It's on screen now, right? Areas of equal elevation. That's our starting point, and their starting point is a GP measurement of Polaris for latitude. That's our starting point and their starting point. So as soon as we start saying, well, if these stars got geometry, you're right, we're inviting them to think about, oh, right, well, Kepler says they are this distance. What about if they were doing this on screen now? Now, they'd be infinite, wouldn't they? Infinite distance.
I think we're on dodgy ground, stars.
Let's just hear Adam. I'm sorry to cut you off. I know this is your point. We'll come immediately back to you, not me, John. Go ahead, Adam.
Sorry, John. Just a quick, I think we're on dodgy ground. With a lot of the other stuff, we can make positive statements. We can with celestial navigation, but it's a little like last week when we're getting into the realms of what the stars are, how do we measure them, what are we measuring? Like I said, it puts us in a place where, for me, I'm much happier to make a positive statement that I do not know. And I use the phrase the majesty, it's the mystery, it's my lack of knowledge. I'm probably humiliated that I'll never know. But that when we get to the stars, dealing with them like that, if we go into anything Kepler-y based, it's all in their paradigm, everything. In my paradigm, it is just, if I'm being honest, just ignorance and marveling at their majesty. I can't do anymore. I don't think I ever will be able to do anymore. So I think just
Yeah, but
an
Adam,
admittance
Neil.
of my position is I think in the long run going to strengthen us. You can't attack honesty. And if you make it quite categorically clear that you make no claim, all you can say is they defy everything that we have knowledge about of how things work in a terrestrial sense. If we admit that position, there's very little to attack. If you listen to last week, people are trying to build straw men to attackers. I've finished.
John, go ahead.
Right. But the positive claim isn't on us. We're asking for evidence for the positive claim. That's what the whole foundation of the housekeeping questions are.
That's correct.
Is there's a positive claim made? We want evidence for it. We don't have to make a positive claim. It's not our burden. We shouldn't take it on.
And they've removed their own burden when they make them infinitely distant to work from the center of the sphere out to the infinitely distant because it's actually working with a parallel plane of the sky. Star base around it, based on the perspective view, based on you standing on the outside edge of the protractor that you're measuring in hell, that's an infinite distance when they're actually doing anything functional for us. And we've never, say again, not once has a glober come to me to make this positive assertion. Because they're not making a positive assertion. We are. So it's not formatable into a housekeeping question. We're not keeping house. We're not keeping the dust off the arguments that they've put forward that we've overcome in this instance. So to me, I'm just saying it a third time, let's just go with what Adam said. We're on a slightly sticky wicket if we invite their positive claim where they haven't to date made one. They are just using a flat earth in this instance. We've started pointing that out on the front foot. So to say, from my personal perspective, when I say I'm trying to empower you, the audience, to move forward on the front foot with this positive claim we make, as opposed to I'm trying to get you to move forward on the positive foot with a flat earth measurement we're taking. Let's invite our opponents to explain how that flat earth measurement would work with orbits.
Yeah, that's the point, though, isn't it?
I didn't say that, though. That's not the housekeeping
I know it's
question.
not. I know it isn't what you said, but I'm trying to compare and contrast with moving forward on the positive foot of claims we can make rather than arguments we've overcome.
Right. The claims we can make, okay, and is the reality, and it's also our ignorance, is what I said. But from that point on, all you've got is the claims we can make in reality, which is whatever they are up there, we can take a flat Earth elevation angle. That's all that's done. Now, at any point moving forward, be it orbits, Kepler, anything, it's instantly just a paradigm. To recognize that point, to take it past a flat Earth elevation angle, you suddenly invoke a paradigm. No matter whether it's a flat earther or a baller, because we don't know. So just to recognize the second they step out of reality is the second they invoke anything, be it soil in the sky, orbits, everything's a fairy tale. Just admit it. We don't know. We don't know how they work. They don't work how everything else works, but we can use them in the way that they don't work how everything else works to navigate the surface we dwell upon.
I love
The
that.
only
I just want to say that that's probably why I'm so vehemently against you in this regard, John, because while you were saying, oh, we've got to get people thinking about Kepler, I suddenly shudder and cringe, and I'm like, I want to step away from the lies. When Adam says, now we've just got to admit we don't know, and I go, oh, this is getting juicy, because suddenly I salivate. I feel like that kid that's like, I want to find out then. Yeah? We don't know. Yeah, it behaves like this and we can describe it and we map our world with it. Okay. But what that's it. That's what we've got. Yeah, and it works. Yeah, okay. And we do use it. Yeah, we do. Okay. So that's the end of that argument. But when Adam says, we don't know, when they start asking us about height, I don't know. Yeah, well, you must. No, I mustn't. Doesn't have any functional use in navigation. For my
Eventually,
argument
we
that it's
can
flat.
know.
Neil, I'm talking. Doesn't have any functional use for navigation in my argument. And that was the end of my argument with you, Globe Believer. Now, you and I, once you've conceded that, and that is all that will happen with a Globe Believer at that stage, once we have, he'll be John then, and we'll talk about the majesty of the stars, because we don't know. And then it becomes the best bit of the discussion. So we can now ponder the world that we've been deceived with open eyes, and an acknowledgement of our ignorance. It's not going to be used against me, because I don't need to know how high they are. I wasn't going to ascribe them a height anyway. Why are you doing it? Well, because there's part of navigation that seems to work a bit like using triangles for a lighthouse, and it isn't. So it should, because you're a flat earther. No, it shouldn't. We still just use angles to stars. The fact that they don't change with altitude makes no difference to my argument when I don't know what they are. They do function that way, though. That's a fact. But about me not knowing, I just smile and go, wow, maybe I'll be the one who finds out what the stars are. I doubt it. But it's nice to know that I've suddenly reached a point of ignorance. It's not just all known and the powers that should not be are going to tell me. I've reached a point of ignorance. Great.
Can I say something?
Well,
you can let John, because he's itching. John, then Neil. Yeah, John, then Neil.
I would like to point out this entire conversation that's taken 36 minutes has been born off the back of just this one question. If it's not worth asking, why do we spend 36 minutes talking about it.
Because we're deciding the relevance of introducing a false dichotomy when we're trying to move forward on the front foot to only assert our positive claim. The
No,
fact that it might invite a new claim from them
no.
that the stars work off a globe is up to them to make the positive assertion, not for us to invite, in my humble opinion.
But any housekeeping question invites a fallacy.
Yeah, and
Any
Neil
one
said
of them
that.
you ask.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree. And Neil's said it from the start. Neil, go ahead, because I'm agreeing about. I'll just agree with what, so that we remember what Neil was, what I'm agreeing with. Yeah, they did until 2024. Now I'm saying when we move forward into 2024, I only want to move forward on the front foot. I don't want to go, we need more housekeeping. The hotel is spotless. So, yeah, that Globe Hotel is as clean as can be. And moving forward, I don't want to make a new housekeeping question. I haven't said it that way till now. Go ahead, Neil.
I like what Adam said, and I think that we may be able to find out one day, because it does say in the Bible that there's nothing that man cannot do. So maybe one day we will be able to, but it keeps it open, right?
In
Well,
death,
don't know
perhaps.
right now.
Yeah, in death, maybe.
I wasn't denying that, Neil, but I am
No, I know.
honest enough to
I like
say
what you
look,
said.
now, with everything
That's
I'm
not what it meant
don't
when the
think
Bible
it's
said
Hold on,
that.
there's three people. Let's get some order. Right. I want to go Adam, hopefully briefly, then John, then Neil.
What do you mean that's not what it meant? They were building a tower to the skies, and that's why you had to confuse the tongues, because there was nothing that man cannot do.
Right, but
That's what it
you
says.
just put those two instances together. When he says there's nothing that man can't do is through him and through faith, it didn't mean that they should look to the stars or to the horizons because those men are fools, which the Bible also says. It didn't mean
No,
physically
but
you
they
can
were
do
building.
anything outside of,
They they were building a tower. That's why you had to confuse the tongues.
We got that.
So
yeah, but
when
you're not
got
connecting
that.
that. Like, it's not like that's connected to your premise. You're just saying that.
It isn't.
I get what you're saying.
Thank you, Eli.
you had to
Perfect.
stop them for a
You've cut
reason.
him, Neil, he's cut you off, and I'm glad he has. Thank you, Eli. Back to Adam, who will hopefully round at this point.
yes. So when I said what I said, I wasn't implying that we will never. I'm just being realistic about what we know, what's available, what resources are available. It's not to say others, the powers that be, may know already. Yeah, but I don't. It's not available to me. And there's nothing that I can even imagine here that would enable me to get to that level of knowledge. So there's no point for me pretending. But you know,
Stop. John.
future fallacy is fine.
Fine. John.
Just back to the point, we talk about inviting a false dichotomy. Well, we're not thinking about the other side of this false dichotomy, and that's flat earthers who are trying to make the same assertions that globe earthers are. This is a debate that's happening internally right now within our own community, where people are telling us that it's asinine to claim that the stars do not obey our concepts of geometry.
I've considered
I
this too.
think it is a valid question to ask, since there are people out there that are making positive claims about them. It's valid.
Perfect. I've considered this also. Would you not concede that at the point that I have this discussion, that very specific discussion with a flat earther, in terms of his conceptualization of his sky, we, he and I, or she and I, or they and I, would have to concede that Earth is measured flat to have that discussion? Would you agree that that must be the case for us to move forward in that discussion?
No, I wouldn't, because one just Friday was willing to blow the Earth up to ignore the ground.
He was making the false dichotomy argument from a globe perspective as a flat earther. That's not the same. I'm saying to have the discussion as a flat earther that you were saying you said on our own side, you've got people who describe their version of their geometry for their stars, which we can overcome and would discuss. It's part of flat earth debate when you're talking about the nature of reality. But in that specific instance, they would also and must also concede a horizontal plane of reference to describe the angle measurements, for example, to have the discussion about what they claim for their geometry of their stars. They must concede Earth is measured flat to move forward in that discussion. Would you not agree?
Right. So by not addressing it, we're allowing a false dichotomy to go unanswered, because there's flat earthers asserting that is a positive position that's being ascribed to us. So I think it's still relevant.
Other
Can I
than
interject for a minute?
other than at the
Sure.
point that you say yes and agree that we both must agree. Earlier, I said that would be the point that I would stop the discussion. So we understand and agree together that Earth is measured flat. Now, if that discussion continues because a flat earther then wants to ascribe geometry to the stars because of an ether belief or whatever they've got, then I would have the debate with them. But that's the nature of the show as a whole. When you've got a claim for the nature of Earth, rather than something that should be incorporated into housekeeping, I feel, I'm not saying no, moving into 2024 for the reasons I've given.
Right, but you say in the beginning of the show it's about the nature of reality. So if it's not about that, then what is it about?
So you're suggesting that I should invite with a question about the geometry of the stars, a premise that could only be debated upon if you concede that Earth is measured flat, to have that discussion. Because of the way you've positioned it with people who are claiming things,
like that.
I just a little bit of caveat. Because of the way you framed this with the flat earthers in this instance making a claim about the nature of Earth, based purely on the way I say my intro, I've got to concede, haven't I? I've got to say that this would be incorporatable as a housekeeping question because there is a claim about the nature of Earth being made by anyone. It doesn't matter that they're flat earthers. My argument doesn't hold water at that point. Kudos, because now I do think this must be incorporated as a housekeeping question. That is to say, is there any... I've forgotten how you phrased it in terms of the geometry of the stars, John. You get the pleasure because you're the one doing it.
Oh, I didn't want it as a housekeeping question. I just want to talk about it.
But that's the way to talk about it on a regular basis, because in this instance, it's actually not born out of the Earth being measured flat as a bold assertion, as a positive claim. It's not born out of that, actually, is it? It's born out of the elevation angle measurements and celestial navigation argument. When you're talking about how we deal with the stars, for them they deal with the geometry of the stars on a globe Earth that we debunk with celestial navigation. But further to that, there are people who accept that we measure angles to stars, but still make etheric assertions about what they are, where they are, and how the sky behaves. So for those particular individuals, they're still making claims on the nature of Earth. And we have, unlike my rebuttal earlier, well, who's debating us about it to make it a housekeeping question? Ironically, this housekeeping question comes from flat earthers, but that is worthy of housekeeping, which is how you started this off, right? You know, you're now making it seem like it's my idea somehow. I don't know how you've done that, but that's smart also. You're smart. I don't know how this is happening. Your idea is becoming my idea, which is how you get things done, I suppose, which is good.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, I didn't really.
Just let me just get
Oh, yeah,
John's
go ahead.
response then. Yes.
Go ahead. My bad.
John, then whoever that was from Discord.
I just wanted to talk about the geometry or the lack thereof. And like you said, if it does evolve into a housekeeping question, that's cool. But I think it's an interesting topic.
It is. It's a whole basis of their worldview that they've sold us with Globe Earth. So obviously, not knowing means it's a worthy topic to be under the scrutiny and discussion of a flat Earth debate panel with anybody who can join, because we might find out, right, Adam? This might lead into a discussion that actually leads to a bit more understanding, where we can only not feign and plead ignorance. Go on, whoever it was from Discord, unless Adam responds.
That was me.
Adam, go ahead.
That
Other
was
Adam
me.
from
It's
Discord.
Adam. How are you?
Very well. What should we call you rather than Adam? Price.
Yeah, it's
Price.
just Adam.
I'll call you Price.
Price. Yeah,
Perfect.
that's fine too. All right. I can only speak as a chatter and as a basically, like a troll, but on your side. And that's the truth of it. But how it would go is you guys would say something, or you guys would talk to somebody and say something to them, and then someone harps on an idea. So measured flat. Is it measured flat? Are you sure? Yeah. But what I guess I'm getting at, and also that geometry thing that's been going on for about a week or two now. But thinking about it, maybe a thing that could help is temporary, even housekeeping questions. Like a howl. like a towel when you spill some wine or something. Just like that geometry of the stars, or just like any evidence that it's not measured flat, just as easy as that. At least that would bring people to the conversation with a specific goal or end in mind. Because if there's people in the YouTube chat right now like, "Ooh, you can't use a triangle. You can't use a triangle." Okay, but it's right there in every single manual you see. It's in the words. It's even in the words. They write it down. Imagine a right triangle.
I know.
This
right,
is
that's
where
all I
we've
had.
got to be careful then, isn't it? Again, you see, what are we talking here? I'm not making a claim they're not geometric in this case. You've got to be. There is no claim for us, because what do we go to? We move away from anything and we start talking about celestial navigation. Different topic.
Yeah, an investigation that we may or may not undergo as a result of our inquiries here and our recognition of our ignorance, as highlighted by Adam, doesn't mean that it changes the factual statements about navigation. They don't change. It's like when someone tries to pin on me, well, this happened on Friday in the politics server. One of the participants starts to inquire about the majesty of the heavens in terms of their lack of change in angle. But as soon as I concede, yeah, that's something that we have to take into consideration, is what it is, he says, yeah, because it's in respect to the radial value and its increase, because he's concave, with respect to a spherical surface that we'll get angles from. You're like, okay, well, at this point, you've tried to incorporate something we don't know about as a defense for your curve angles. Now, when they do that, we only, and I'm sure Adam will agree when I pass over to him in a second, lean on the how things are actually done, the facts of the matter when it comes to celestial navigation. It's done on a flat plane. The angle doesn't change as you rise up to the star. Let's just say that in a more concise way so it's clear. The Earth is being measured flat with an angle, and as you raise up in elevation, the angle, parallel to the ground, if you ascertain it parallel to the ground, remains the same at all altitudes. So your angle measurement to the star doesn't change as you raise up. That's the premise. Okay, that's in normal geometric terms when measuring something in a terrestrial manner. Seems weird. You raise up typically, and things will reduce in their angular measurement as you raise with respect to them. That's how you expect things to behave. The stars don't do that. Now, the fact that they don't do that has no bearing on anything. That is what it is. Now, the fact we will measure them with angles off a flat baseline, again, is what it is. There's no ambiguity, there's no debate, there's no discussion, there's no questioning what is done when we measure angles to stars. Why are you asking me about why they would do that? I don't know. They do that, and we utilize that fact to navigate with them flat on a flat Earth. That's it. Beyond that, once I accept, and you, if you're opposing me, accept those facts, not debating points, we could, probably won't because the person will be in defiance, discuss why they might do that as a folly, as an exploration that may not actually bear any fruit and useful nature, useful information, but we might know something more about what the stars are. But that's separate to how they're dealt with, how they're used. And that questioning and discussion is something that would bring a wry smile to my face. Oh, so we don't know what the stars are. No, we don't. I knew that quite some time ago. And it brought a smile to my face then. But how they do behave and what we can show to be facts won't change with my investigation, if I choose to have it. And it won't be used, more importantly, as a debating point against me, because I don't know why they stay the same angle as we raise up. I don't know and I don't care. They do. Does it make any difference? Does it work on a globe? I don't care. It has to be measured flat. I'm done.
Yeah. I would. I can't prove even that they're not in a fixed location. I don't know how they do what they do, but they do. So Like, if I challenge somebody with gas pressure without container, there's a purpose, and I can make that definitive statement that you can't have gas pressure without a container. But I can't make any statement that you can't have the stars geometric or you must have the stars geometric. I can't make that statement here. As soon as I go to describing what they are, I lose, and I'm in a world of just nonsense, aren't I? Making stories up. I've got to keep it. The whole point of any strength for us, if it's going to be a housekeeping, is with regards to the process of celestial navigation and how you attain an elevation angle.
I mean,
That
if I
seems
could chime in,
that seems a little bit weak, though. Why not just apply, perspective to the stars or apply geometry to the stars and see what happens
Don't work.
if you.
Go ahead, no thanks.
So then that is a statement you can make.
Yeah, it is a statement you can make. An antagonistic.
it works with the sun.
Go on, no thanks. You go ahead.
I just wanted to chime in and say that it does work with the sun. You can change have a vertical change and measure a different angle to the sun.
That's correct. Yeah, there is small adjustments for the sun and moon, but we're talking about the star, the main background star field.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've never seen anybody test it, so I don't know if it's true or false.
It's another flat Earth proof. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. There's a guy on Globebusters baffled everybody with his military sun tracking stuff. It's very complicated, but there are mine. I don't think you really need to worry about it, but you can get more precise information. My knowledge is a little ropey on it, but yeah, there are adjustments, but not, like I say, for the star field. That's the important thing.
Thank you. So
they're lying to us, right? If they're lying to us, and they've been lying to us all this time, and you don't know, and you're only speculating, then why would there be a reason for me to believe anything you're saying? And why couldn't I even think that you are part of the lie too?
Well, because we give information.
You're welcome to think
and you're
that,
just part of
one of us.
You're just part of the system. Hang on, and you're just part of the system that is just set up to make us argue amongst each other, so we don't look at the other stuff that's going on.
You could assume that but you has to go on, or you or anyone watching has to go on the fruit of our labour. In this instance, you can verify what we're talking about. There's no trust involved. Now, when you say, "Well, do I just believe you?" Well,
Yeah, but you.
What I'm talking
largely,
about.
I hear none of you have done anything. So
well, this is why I said it's important to.
And then you want me to believe what you're saying about it. I mean, that's a bit silly.
Let's just address him because he's rinsed and repeated it while I was in the middle of addressing it. My address to that was to say, hold on, Adam.
Sorry.
My address to that was to say, no, you don't believe what we say when we lay down facts you can verify in terms of how celestial navigation's performed. Those are things that you can check easily. You don't have to take anything at face value or at what we say is our word. There's no belief involved. So no, you don't have to believe us. If you don't trust what we say, in other words, you suspect that what we say is actually intentionally wrong and us lying to deceive you as a part of a system that you have suggested leaves us in perpetual debate, then the only way to check if we have intentionally deceived you with incorrect information is to check the information. And when you find it's not wrong, then you go, oh, obviously he's not deceiving me with the correct information. How could I? That makes no sense.
Well, you haven't really said anything yet that you know to be true.
I have.
Yourself.
I've been out on
you've got
since
10 years. You've
I'm
got
about
10
to contradict
years.
you.
And you don't
I'm
seem
about
to
to
come
contradict you, and you're going to appeal to something. No, I have. I've told you. My sister owned several boats. And I've been out and watched them. Why are you chanting through me? I'm just going to ask the mods to remove you, Edibert. If I contradict you by saying, no, I have seen this done, this is a process I'm familiar with, because my sister and her now deceased husband had several boats. I've watched it done. Now, as I was saying earlier, there's no belief involved. It's just checking of information. You can check what we say and whether or not we say things that are just made up because we're liars, therefore, yeah, we're part of a system. If you found something to be untrue and you could show, look, you're intentionally deceiving people with this information, it's obvious you'd know this X and it isn't correct, then you'd have grounds for what you're suggesting. But that isn't the case. You can check what we say to be factually accurate. I'm not just here to leave people in perpetual debate. That's my show. I want a debate. That's the name of my show that I developed as an individual to pay my bills with.
He's not actually
know,
pointed
the thing
anything
with
that's
your
factually
sister
inaccurate
is
and
Hold on,
described
John.
what it
Hold on,
was.
hold on,
He
John.
just
Hold on,
debunked it.
John. Go ahead, Eddie Bear.
I mean, the thing with your sister's kind of, it's hearsay at this point, and it's, secondary information. It's not something you've done. And, I don't know whether she did tell you that when she used the sextant, therefore the Earth is flat. But for me to verify, in reality, when I walk around in reality, I do not see a flat surface that I could say, wow, that's flat, that's measurably so. So I am checking what you're saying, and in my reality, it doesn't comport with that.
Yeah,
Hang
I
on.
see.
So,
Thank you, Eddie
so
Bear. I'd just like
that's,
to respond to that. Thank you. I heard the
Well,
standard.
why you cut in before
I
I?
heard the standard that you laid down. Please, can someone mute him? Because otherwise, you won't hear my response in Discord. My audience will. No, in response to you, the standard we laid down was not what Ed the Bear observes as he wanders around. The standard we laid down was elevation angle measurements, for example, to Polaris for latitude. Those are standards that are verifiable without trusting what I have seen that you now deny as hearsay. Yeah, it's me saying it after seeing it. Yeah, that's not hearsay. That's my first-hand account of watching somebody perform these operations on a boat at sea with a sextant in their hand. Not hearsay. Yeah, it's hearsay if you repeat what I've told you I saw. I saw it as a first-hand experience, is me experiencing and describing it to my audience while I was sat on a bloody boat while it happened. Now, you're decrying of it by saying, well, it doesn't meet the standard of what I see when I wander around. That's not the standard we laid down, though, is it, when we're talking about elevation angle measurements? That's what we talk about, that you can verify. Those are the bits that we use as our proof. You want to hand wave them and say, yeah, but by my standard, I don't just see it flat when I wander around, so I've got to, therefore, distrust what you say as hearsay. What garbage kind of standard? Are you just trying to poison the well here? It certainly seems so. You're not listening to what I'm actually laying down as a standard you can go off and verify. In terms of latitude, it's easy to understand. We've explained it to you multiple times. Those are the standards, not what I say with my sister.
Right, he got you into
what you saw with your
false
sister
dichotomy
is
argument right off the jump because he's talking about beliefs and we're talking about facts. They're not the same thing. He's trying to mix the two so he can call us liars.
I didn't say anything to him, so you can't blame me.
I'm not calling you a liar. I never called you a liar. I never did. I said that I hear lots of people say things, but nobody's done anything, and tell me that I have to compare it with the things they haven't done. And when you say the Earth is measured flat, when I look around in my reality, I don't see it. So I question how you did that. And when I hear you tell me, it's not an answer.
Thank you for repeating your claim for a third time. I've heard it the third time.
I know, well, I'm sorry
and then
to
I've now
Neil.
I'm going to respond. Now he's not going to let me. He thinks by repeating it and just carrying on jabbering, the third rendition won't be heard. Can someone mute him because he's now not letting me respond to the third rendition of what I've just summarised and he's completely ignored. Yeah, I heard it. I heard it 3 times. And when I've explained, yes, your standard of, well, you haven't done anything. Well, other than going out on a boat, watching my sister perform this operation, and then literally years later, having me explain to her what celestial navigation entailed in terms of flat Earth measurement, and her going, yeah, I've done it, Nathan. You watch me do it. Why are you going through this with me? While she's nodding along. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've only learnt this year. She's like, I had boats. Do you remember being on the boats? Something I'd blacked out of my memory because there was a terrible death involved. So I blacked it all out, forgot it all happened. And then to me, learning about celestial navigation, which isn't what I did, she did it. I just forgot about all the things it entailed while we were out on their boats. Now I remember and disseminate to an audience how I was literally involved in the process, having it explained to me by my sister, more accurately her husband at the time, the person that died. Explain to me how it bloody worked. Frankly, boring the pants off me. Gotta be honest, I wanted to sunbathe on those boats. But there we go. He explained celestial navigation. He'd spent money on getting trained in it. So had my sister. They were both qualified. And having watched the process being done with a sextant in hand, I feel like I can deliver first-hand experience, not basing my audience's faith on that story of me on a boat, but the process that was involved that I could say secondhand I watched being done and had explained to me while it was being done on an actual boat at sea. Yeah, you can't say that's not first-hand experience that I'm not inviting my audience to trust me on. I'm saying the process that was explained to me has an actual proof within it that you can check. You can check how the process is done. That doesn't involve any belief, doesn't involve any trust. It certainly doesn't involve how you experience things when you wander around and don't see it's flat. That's not comparable. No trust involved here, Edabear.
Right. Does he not see level as horizontal? I mean, everyone else sees level as horizontal. That's how you experience it. Why would you say that you don't experience level as horizontal? That doesn't make sense. That is exactly what you experience.
I look out the window.
This is a dude, right? This is a dude that just wanders round. This is how he decides things in how he gets a grasp of it. He just wanders round, looks at them, and if it doesn't comport to what he thinks, listen to the standards of what's being put to him. He's attacked him as if he's the arbiter of celestial navigation. No, right? What's Nathan done for 10 years? Why don't you, for like half a day, go and read about celestial navigation? The thing you should be critiquing, not Nathan's experience of it, how much he did of it, how much he didn't do it, is kind of irrelevant to the validity of the process and what it entails, Elder Bear.
I had a.
Hang on a sec.
Edabear.
I didn't mention celestial navigation conversation. Nathan brought it up, and it kind of confirms for me as a member of his audience that thank you. I realised that something traumatic had happened to you when you keep bringing up his sister, and that's why I wonder why you keep bringing her up.
Oh, wow.
For me, it's secondhand, and your sister should be the one. Now
there's a point, mods, in Discord where somebody should just be removed. That's just so distasteful.
Your stuff is all observation.
You should just be removed,
all of your
mods.
stuff,
Can
Adam.
you just at least mute this guy while you decide whether or not that kind of scummy,
Yeah, he wants to derail the show.
filthy,
I said that from the beginning.
low moral attack should be permitted.
All of the things you said to me are observation, but my observation isn't.
I don't want to talk to him. Genuinely, what a piece of work.
I don't either, Adam. Remove
I think at that point, I'm done talking to that scumbag. Is there anybody in Discord that can deal with him, please?
He is muted right now. If you guys want to remove from the server, just make the call and he's gone.
Scummy behaviour is what it is. I don't know why Edabear's
you don't have to
that
take
way.
offence. I think that's filthy.
He's a scumbag.
I'm used
There's
to it.
no doubt about that.
Something that I
know. But
let Adam summarise why Adam is so disgusted. Feel free, Adam.
I don't want to go into the detail, but I just think there's levels of discourse. There's levels of ad hom will take. And then there's that, which is just second-rate high school psychology scumbag.
Adam, let me ask you a question. Did you think he was genuine at any point in that conversation?
No, he never has been. But there's a level that people should be allowed to descend to. And that was too far.
I was jotting something down yesterday. I was kind of just starting with the idea of it, but it contrasts to what you guys are talking about right now.
Feel free.
And what I was jotting down on just a piece of paper was kind of exactly this, right? So you get 2-3 observers, right, in a vertical change, right, like one at the top of the mountain, one at the bottom, and you got to somehow make sure that it's a straight line. But you get the elevation angle to the sun from that. Now, can we trace and the divergence of those angles to a point to find out something about the sun? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what we know about it is GP positions. It's similar. You can navigate with the sun.
Yeah, sure, yeah, but we take that from our baseline.
Are you
Like,
planning
I
to
just,
try
I,
to
I just
use
had a,
angular size to try to figure out its actual size?
maybe distance. I don't know about angular size.
When it comes to
But
distance, it's
what
got
we're
the
doing it
same.
again.
It's
We're
got
doing
the
it
same
again.
problems. Go ahead, Adam.
We're doing it again. Why? Why? No, the process of celestial navigation, which requires the surface we're going to navigate to be flat. Yeah, that's all it does. We can't take anything from this, any nuances, and extrapolate statements of definitive statements about the celestials. Any of them. If you go there,
Well, this would just be
you're going to
of
get
angles.
undone.
Go
This
ahead.
would just be of angles. So if I, if you measured, I don't know, 45 degrees at, at sea level, and then you measured it, I guess 44 degrees, 1,000 feet higher, you can't work with those lines and where they would meet.
Okay, let me try and work you through this.
Why?
Hopefully, you'll be tolerant of it. First, as I've said to John earlier on this show, for us to have this discussion, there's a prerequisite flat Earth measurement that we both must concede to, the angle off the baseline for the 45 or 44 degree angle that we're going to discuss. So before we move forward, you concede Earth's being measured flat to have this discussion moving forward.
Yeah, everybody knows that horizontal is level. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so we're measuring Earth flat to have this discussion. Fine. Okay, we've got the sun at 45 degrees, and then we wait. And then it's at 44 degrees in your example. Okay, with that in mind, at a certain stage, it will reach the horizon. Is it hitting the horizon? That is to say, it's hit the ground. So at 0 degrees, it's
No,
smashed into the ground, has it?
no, and that's not even my example. My example is not at different times. It's the exact same time in a vertical change, measuring that if you go 1,000 feet. I don't know it. I'd have to do it in reality. I'd have to see what
Oh,
happens.
I see what you mean. That's just quite that's quite a specific effect that happens at a certain time of day, though. When you're talking about how the sun behaves with respect to the horizon when it's at the limit, we're talking about opening up and or if you decrease your height, decreasing the angle to the sun, to the I was going to say star to the sun. In that respect, well, the effect that you get with a reduction or increase of angle to surface induces an effect with the sun that isn't the same beyond, I'm going to say 15 degrees, but let's just say 20, just to be on the safe side. From that point, when you're measuring the angles to it, you can utilize it in the same way the stars in the day work for GP positions of the sun if you choose to. But the effect that you're describing sort of infers that the behavior of the sun at the horizon is indicative of the measurement of an angle to give you height. It isn't. It still will risk, regardless of your change in height, bringing the sun back, for instance. How it behaves as it recedes towards the horizon and the GP positions that it's over has a relationship with the flat ground, but no relationship to the height of the sun at all. Same with the moon, same with the stars. That bit can be inferred, regardless of the fact that the sun's bigger. It has a wider angular size, means that you can change the behavior of it when you increase the angle to the surface. That is just to say you widen your angle of view to it. And because it's physically bigger, you can get it to behave in certain ways, one of which being disappearing and then coming back. But that doesn't mean it behaves like that through the rest of the angles above probably about 10 degrees, actually. But anyway, I'm done.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, it really came to mind just when somebody in like the 24/7 was like, well, proof of the globe is you stand up and you see the sunset again. And I know that there's not a globe, right? But I'm thinking that is it. It is interesting in the regards to a change in the vertical and measuring a degree change and the effects. And these are divergent, lines from a point from the center of the sun. I mean, you could get the angular size, but then the center is where we're trying to get. And then if you trace these back and you keep these angles, I mean, I don't see why we can't come up with something.
I'll tell you why. So the bit where I said, does the sun crash into the ground? If you're going to measure angular size, or sorry, an angle to the sun for height, then effectively it's getting lower as it recedes to the horizon. That's essentially what you're suggesting. That side of the triangle that you're using for the measurement for the trig is receding. Does that mean the sun's getting lower? No, it isn't. It's going over a piece of land further over there. And what you perceive that to be is it going towards the horizon. What's it really doing? Fact. It's moving over a bit of land over there. We know, we've tracked it. Yeah, you've got solar noon over there now on a different bit of land, probably out in the sea. Doesn't matter. My point is that when you've got an example that a flat earther can present with a coin against a table, you can get the coin to disappear as it recedes further along the table. And then you raise up and the coin comes back. Well, imagine the same coin, but the camera position stays the same. It's reached the point where the coin has disappeared in the length of the camera's vision. Yeah? So the coin disappears, but then you pick up the coin and raise it up and then just carry on, moving up with the coin in your hand. Well, if you're looking down the barrel of the lens of the camera, the coin appears as you pick it up and then just carries on upwards as you move it further and further and further up. Well, that's the effect that you get with the sun when you're looking at it from your vantage point, having receded towards the horizon and gone into the most limited of angle. Okay, you get higher and you see it come back because you've widened your angular resolution to the sun. But in terms of it just physically moving, let's say at sunrise, towards your position, it's getting closer and closer and closer to being above you. Let's say, for the sake of this example, you happen to be on a piece of ground that the sun travels directly over. You have the sun at your zenith at solar noon. Well, when you watch the sun rising, it is effectively coming towards your GP position. And that's the same in both directions as it comes towards you or goes away. It is literally moving over a different piece of land. But when you wire your brain to say, I can get a height from that, no, you can't. It will not ever give you that.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear what your thoughts were on it. Whether it was that we would be quantifying perspective to the sun and only the sun, or seeing where these angles would meet. I mean, just wanted to hear what your thoughts were on it.
Nothing in the sky in terms of the sun, the moon, or the stars will ever offer their positional information from the geometric measurements and triangles that we use. Trig won't give you their height. That is the bottom line for all of them. There's no exceptions. With anything else that has a physical position, we can use that. We can use those triangles to find out how far it is, how high it is. If you've got a jumbo jet in the distance, if you know what the jet is, so you can scale it with its own size because then you can calculate all of that just by looking at it and using angles and trig to find out how far or how high. All worthy of use and all used daily, literally daily. But for the stars, those rules don't apply. They just don't. Stars and sun and moon, all celestial objects don't obey what we consider to be standard Earth-based terrestrial geometry. None of them obey that. That is actually the cyclical start of this live discussion from John. Kudos, by the way, John. It has developed literally an hour and a half of conversation because that is the full circle coming back to it, right? Do the stars have geometry, John? You can round out this point. You can have all the kudos too because it is your point that's developed this entire discussion. I'll even put it as
I will make the statement that no, they don't, but I am open to being proven wrong if someone would like to do that.
It's a worthy question of being asked is the main point, right, John? And it's you that asked it.
But yeah, because we usually end up with a false dichotomy, like y'all said before. And a lot of times flat earthers try to figure out like the height of the heavens to be put in that false dichotomy position. So maybe that's something, worth educating people on, that it doesn't work that way for the stars.
I've made a lot of comment, John, on this, but I joined late. I don't think I've actually heard the suggested question. Would you humour me and
We haven't had
repeat
one
it?
yet. We haven't come up with one yet.
What was that?
He's saying, what's the housekeeping question that's under discussion? Well, there hasn't actually been one, let alone one to refine yet. Other than do the
Is
stars
there
have
any
geometry?
evidence?
Go on, John.
Yeah, is there any evidence that the stars obey geometry?
That will be the starting point for our refinement. Is there any evidence that the stars have geometry? And that will be my how I phrase the title of this live stream. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to Jaldo for hitting the free membership button. I don't know how quite that works, but for giving out those free memberships, for you liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Please smash the share button if you've not done so already. Hit the thanks button if you're watching after the fact. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!